Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Tuesday, August 30th, 2022. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my MLB best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium. Of course, I'm always running my $15 MLB best bet, so check it out at Pickdawgz Premium. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Tuesday, August 30th. First up, we see the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Cleveland Guardians. Spencer Watkins and Cal Quantrill are the projected starters for Game 1 of this series. You know, it's tough to beat the Guardians at home these days. They're 32-25 at home at Progressive Field this season, while the Orioles, they play much better ball at home themselves. They're 6 games under 500 away from Camden Yards in 2022. So, you look at that, you look at the pitching matchup with Spencer Watkins. Although he's got that 3.96 ERA, there is some regression concerns, and I would say there's some regression concerns for both starters, but Watkins a 4.82 expected ERA, a 4.75 xFIP. He's only got 5.68 strikeouts per 9, which is pretty concerning. His last start against the White Sox, he struggled at the beginning of that outing. He's given up a lot of base hits in that first inning, gave up a couple of earned runs, but he was able to sharpen up and give the Orioles some solid, 6 innings of solid pitching. But overall, the Orioles have lost each of the last 4 starts that Watkins has had on the mound, and most of those games by 2 or more runs. And with, the Guardians playing so well against right-handed pitching really all season long, I do think they'll be able to get to Watkins for a few runs. Cal Quantrill's been really tough to read this season, like I've mentioned quite a few times. We've seen him struggle. We've seen him pitch basically gem outings. His last start was one of those gems. 7 innings, no earned runs, 6 strikeouts against the San Diego Padres. The Guardians are winning a lot of the games that Quantrill's starting in. I like him here at home where he's 6-0 with that 3.38 ERA at Progressive Field this season. Give me the Guardians here on the money line. Next up, we see the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Justin Dunn and Dakota Hudson are your starters for this one at Great American Ballpark. And I think at a hitter-friendly ballpark with 2 pitchers that I'm not really big on, I like the over in this game. You look at the St. Louis Cardinals, they're number 2 in team OPS in the last 30 days against right-handed pitching. They're also number 3 in isolated power against those righties. In the last month, they have the 3rd lowest strikeout rate and one of the higher walk rates, 3rd highest walk rate as a team at 9.8%. So they've kind of been known as a lefty killer this season as a team, but as of late, they're hitting lefties and righties, and I think they'll be able to get to Justin Dunn here for quite a few runs. I don't love this Reds bullpen either, so I think St. Louis can put up 6-7 runs themselves. But on the other side, I also think the Reds are going to compete here offensively. Look at Dakota Hudson, an ERA above 5 on the road so far, a 5.05 ERA. He doesn't really strike out many guys. He's had issues with the walks, base hits, and earned runs. And, he hasn't even faced the toughest of lineups as of late. He's still getting hit for a few runs in most of those outings. I think the Reds' offense has actually improved a little bit over the last week or so, even with missing Joey Votto in that lineup. They've had some guys step it up, guys like Donovan Solano and Jake Fraley as well. So I think this offense puts up a few runs. I think we get over this total. So give me the over in the Cardinals-Reds. Next up, we see the Battle of Florida as the Tampa Bay Rays take on the Miami Marlins. No official lineup for this one as the Marlins have not announced an official starter, but we should see Shane McClanahan on the other side for Tampa Bay, and that's more than enough for me to take the Rays here on the run line, laying the 1.5 runs. As we know, the Marlins just aren't hitting left-handed pitching this season, and now they face who I believe is the number 1 lefty in baseball in McClanahan. When you look at the Miami Marlins in the last month, they are dead last in baseball in team OPS against lefties. A little bit better isolated power numbers, but not by much, ranked 24th in the league. Strikeout rate, number 1 highest strikeout rate in the last month against lefties, 31.4%. Their walk rate is below average also, so I don't like their chances at all to do much of anything against McClanahan in this game. And I think the Rays bats, they were pretty impressive in that series against the Red Sox, especially on Sunday, putting up 12 runs, 17 base hits, a few home runs. I think their lineup is getting healthier, and for that reason, it's getting stronger. And I think this is a Rays team you're going to have to watch out for as we near the end of the regular season, as they make their playoff push here. Give me the Tampa Bay Rays in the first game of this Florida series on the run line. Next up, we see the Oakland Athletics taking on the Washington Nationals. We're going to see Cole Irvin and Eric Fedde on the mound for this one. Obviously not the most entertaining series on paper. 2 teams that are well below 500 and having pretty disappointing years overall. And, 2 teams that are in the early stages of their rebuild process. Probably going to be a few years before they compete again. But in this series, in this particular game, I'm leaning towards the Oakland A's on the money line. We're getting a good price there with Oakland getting plus money right now. I do think Cole Irvin is the better option on the mound for Oakland. Even though he's not my favorite pitcher to back, I do think that there is some regression concerns there. He still is solid this season with a 3.16 ERA. Very impressive in his most recent outing against the Marlins. Now, we know the Marlins don't hit lefties much, but he still went 7 innings, 11 strikeouts, no earned runs, no walks, only 3 base hits allowed. And overall, I think this Oakland Athletics lineup has been doing a lot better than Washington's as of late. We saw the Oakland A's compete in that Yankees series at home, where they took the final 2 games of that series in pretty exciting fashion. So I think the Oakland A's are the better team right now, and you're getting plus money with the better starting pitcher. I'm going to take the Oakland A's here on the money line. Next up, we see the Chicago Cubs taking on the Toronto Blue Jays with Marcus Stroman and Kevin Gausman on the bump. Now, I think this is a card here on Tuesday where I like quite a few of the underdogs, at least on the run line. And I think this is one of those spots where I like the Cubs here, plus the 1.5 runs. We've seen Kevin Gausman. He's pitching so well on the road this season, but at home, it just hasn't been the case. He's 3-6 with a 4.63 ERA. He's got 58 1/3 innings pitched. He has a 324 opponent's batting average in those innings. He's given up 5 of his 7 home runs at home this year, despite pitching far fewer innings at home than on the road. And, the Chicago Cubs have been competitive against right-handed pitching in the last month, I would say. You look at their team OPS numbers and isolated power numbers, they are inside the top 20 in both of those factors, with their isolated power being ranked 12th. So I think that they can get a few runs on Gausman. And I think Marcus Stroman, away from Wrigley Field, is not a bad pitcher to back. At home, he's really struggled, but on the road, a 2.08 ERA. His last road start came against the Washington Nationals, where he did give up a couple unearned runs, but his defense really didn't help him there. He didn't give up a single earned run in 4 2/3 innings of work. I think Stroman's good enough here. We saw the Blue Jays really disappointing this weekend at home against the Angels. I think Stroman keeps the bats down a bit. I think the offense backs him up against Gausman. And I'm going to take the Chicago Cubs here, plus the 1.5 runs at a pretty good price. In our next matchup, we see one of the more exciting games on the board and one of the more exciting series this week. The Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Mets. Andrew Heaney and Taijuan Walker are the starters. So obviously the Mets have the rest advantage, as the Dodgers played on Monday against the Marlins in Miami. They traveled to Queens here, no day's rest, while the Mets, they finished their series with the Rockies on Sunday. They got the day off, so their bullpen will be a little bit more well-rested. And I actually do think that this is a beneficial spot here for the Mets, especially getting the plus money on the money line at home, where they played so well at Citi Field this season, owning a 43-20 home record. Now, the Dodgers have been just as impressive on the road. They're 43-22 right now. So it's definitely going to be a close series, in my opinion. But when you look at Andrew Heaney, his last 2 starts, he faced the Milwaukee Brewers twice, back-to-back starts. And we know the Milwaukee Brewers are not the strongest lineup against left-handed pitching this year. And when I say that, you look at their isolated power numbers, they are just outside the top 15. Their team OPS numbers, however, ranked 23rd. You look at their team strikeout rate, second highest, 30.4% the Brewers have. So they're not really hitting lefties much. But Heaney, although he had 20 strikeouts in those 10 2/3 innings, he gave up 4 home runs combined, 5 earned runs, a couple walks thrown in there, some base hits. So he was starting to get hit a little bit when he wasn't missing the bats via the strikeout. And that concerns me against this New York Mets lineup, as they do a great job at limiting strikeouts, both against righties and lefties. And in the last month, they have the 4th lowest strikeout rate against left-handed pitchers. So if Andrew Heaney is not getting those strikeouts, I think he's going to be in trouble. I think he's going to give up the home run ball, the walks as well. And when you look at the New York Mets team OPS, isolated power numbers, they're not the greatest against lefties in the last month. But like I said, limiting those strikeouts at the plate is going to force Andrew Heaney to get outs a different way. And I'm just not sure I can trust him to do that, especially on the road here at what should be a pretty exciting environment for the Mets fans. Taijuan Walker's not my favorite option on the mound, but he's been good overall this season for New York. I think his bats come to play here. I think the Mets score enough to win this game. So I'm going to take the New York Mets here on the money line, getting the plus money. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Detroit Tigers. George Kirby and Matt Manning are your starters, and George Kirby's pitching well on the road this season in his rookie year. 4-1 with a 3.19 road ERA. This season overall, he's got 102 strikeouts and 97 2/3 innings pitched. Coming off a start against the Nationals where he went 7 innings, only giving up 1 earned run with 9 strikeouts. And he's facing a Tigers lineup that's not good against righties. They haven't really been the best against lefties, but overall against righties, they are near the bottom, ranked 27th in team OPS against righties, 27th in isolated power. One of the highest strikeout rates, actually the highest strikeout rate in baseball in the last month against those righties. So I think Kirby pitches well. But on the other side, I actually do like what I'm seeing from Matt Manning. And at the beginning of the season, I was worried because he wasn't missing a lot of bats. And I do like pitchers that can earn some strikeouts, but in his last 14 innings pitched against the Giants and Angels, he's got 13 strikeouts, only giving up 1 earned run, only 1 home run, and only 1 walk. So really good Ks per 9, home runs per 9, and walks per 9 in his last couple outings, and I think he pitches well here. I like the under in this Mariners-Tigers game. In our next game, we see the Colorado Rockies taking on the Atlanta Braves. We're going to see Max Fried and Jose Urena as the starters here. Pretty lopsided pitching matchup and a pretty lopsided game in terms of the money line price. The Atlanta Braves right now minus 300 plus, and I do think that that's actually an appropriate price, and I like the Braves here on the run line. I think actually I would think about laying 2.5 runs as well. When you look at Atlanta, or when you look at the Colorado Rockies offensively on the road against lefties in the last month, it hasn't been great. You look at their team OPS ranked 24th in the league in that stretch, 26th in isolated power, strikeout rate a little bit higher than what we're used to seeing from Colorado. Even their walk rate, which is kind of surprising to see, but it's the second lowest against lefties on the road in the last month, 4.1%. And Max Fried, he's been really sharp this season, 2.52 ERA. I think he has a successful outing. And on the other side, I cannot trust Jose Urena. I don't love him at Coors Field, but even on the road, he still has an ERA above 4. And against this Braves lineup, I don't think it's going to go well for him. He has given up a lot of base hits, a lot of earned runs. He's had location issues. He's not really striking out many guys. So although I gave him a little bit of a chance last start against the Rangers, he proved me wrong, gave up 9 earned runs in an inning and 1/3. I can't trust him here against the Braves. Give me the Atlanta Braves here, laying 1.5 and maybe 2.5 runs as well. Next up, we see the Boston Red Sox taking on the Minnesota Twins. We're going to see Chris Archer and Cutter Crawford on the mound for this one. To me, this game's simple. We see two teams that don't have the best bullpens, two starting pitchers that are not in the best of form as of late, and two lineups that can definitely do some damage offensively. For that reason, I'm going to take the over. When you look at Cutter Crawford, he's given up 21 base hits in his last 8 1/3 innings, 13 earned runs with 3 home runs in that stretch. I just can't trust him here on the road. While on the other side, Chris Archer's last start, 4 innings, 8 base hits, 5 earned runs, a home run to the Houston Astros. And he doesn't really pitch too deep in the game, so we're probably going to see a very healthy amount of the Twins bullpen. And I think it's going to be too much Twins bullpen for my liking. So I think both of these offenses have shown they can do some damage against right-handed pitching. It's really been all season long for the Twins. The Red Sox starting to heat up as the season continues, but I'm going to take the over in this game. I really don't love either side overall. Should be a back-and-forth game offensively, in my opinion. Next up, we see the Houston Astros taking on the Texas Rangers. Dane Dunning and Framber Valdez are your starters. I'm going to lean towards the under in this game, but it's not my favorite game on the board. When you look at the Texas Rangers on the road in the last 30 days against left-handed pitching, they're dead last in isolated power, and in team OPS, they're ranked 27th. However, when you look at their plate appearances at home against left-handed pitching in the last month, they're number 1 in team OPS, number 1 in isolated power, and that's through 178 plate appearances at home, 130 on the road. So a solid sample size both ways. It's kind of been crazy to see just how much better they've hit lefties at home. But Framber Valdez, I watched his last start against the Rangers. That was back on August 11th. He went 7 innings, no earned runs, 8 strikeouts, and even that line doesn't do him any justice, as that was one of the more dominant starts I've seen from a starting pitcher in quite some time. The Astros won that game 7-3, and Framber was just sensational, like I said, but that was at Houston. That was in Houston, where I just mentioned the Rangers have struggled against lefties on the road, but now he's going to Texas, so that's really the part that scares me a little bit with taking the under. While on the other side, Dane Dunning has been sharp this season at home, a 3.21 ERA. The Astros' offensive numbers against righties have been kind of mediocre in the last month. They're 19th in isolated power, so well below average, and team OPS are right around league average. Strikeout rate a little bit higher than what we're used to seeing from them. So, I do think that this is going to be a lower scoring game. And I'd actually lean towards the underdog here, taking the 1.5 runs with the Rangers, as I do believe that their offensive numbers against lefties at home. So I'm going to take a look at. I think it's going to be a pretty low-scoring game, a close game. So I lean towards the under and the Rangers on the run line. Brady Singer and the Kansas City Royals take on Lucas Giolito and the Chicago White Sox. Now, there is just no way that I can take the White Sox in this spot with Giolito pitching at home. Overall this year, he's got a 6.71 ERA at home. In his last 2 home starts, that was against the Detroit Tigers and the Houston Astros, it was 10 innings combined. He gave up 16 base hits, 11 earned runs, a home run, 2 walks. He did have 12 strikeouts, but a ton of base hits allowed. And even in his last start against the Orioles, it was a good start. He went 6 1/3, giving up only 1 earned run. He was starting to get hit pretty hard as that outing continued. He only had 3 strikeouts in that game, which is very concerning for me, and that was on the road in Camden Yards. I don't like his chances here against the Royals. I think they've improved quite a bit offensively in the last 2-3 weeks or so. And on the other side, Brady Singer's been so sharp on the mound really this season, but you look at his last 5 outings. Against the Diamondbacks last start, 7 innings, 6 strikeouts, 1 earned run, Royals win. Against the Rays, 6 innings, 2 earned runs, 7 strikeouts, Royals win. Against the Dodgers, 6 innings, no earned runs, 7 strikeouts. Against the LA Dodgers, the Royals win 4-0. And then against the Chicago White Sox, 7 1/3, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts, another Royals victory. I got to take Singer here, getting the plus money here on the money line. Next up, we see the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Mitch Keller and Adrian Hauser are your starters for this one, but there is no official lineout, so we could see a pitching change. Adrian Hauser, we saw him pitch against these Pirates back on June 30th. He went 2 1/3 innings, giving up 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 home runs, 1 walk, and no strikeouts. That was an 8-7 Pirates win. And at the beginning of the year, we saw the Brewers dominate this season series. It was 6-0 Milwaukee. They won the first 6 games. And the first 5 of those games, they covered on the run line as the favorites. It was all Milwaukee early, but this Pirates team is starting to compete in this series. They love playing the role of spoiler against their NL Central rivals. And I think they compete in this game. I think Mitch Keller has proven to be one of the better options that the Pirates have in their rotation. I think he's having definitely his best season at the Major League level so far. And I think he's good enough here to keep this game close. Like I said, Hauser's not really trustworthy right now. We saw him struggle against the Dodgers in his first start back to the Major Leagues. 2 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 5 earned runs, 4 walks. Had basically no control in that game. That was a 12-6 Brewers loss. I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Pirates here, getting 1.5 runs here on the road. Next up, we see the New York Yankees taking on the Los Angeles Angels. We're going to see Jameson Taillon and Mike Mayers on the mound for this one. Now, if I told you that one of these teams was in the bottom 5 in team OPS against righties in the last month, you'd probably think it'd be the Los Angeles Angels. However, it's not. It's the New York Yankees. They're ranked 28th in team OPS against righties in the last month, only better than the Miami Marlins and the Pittsburgh Pirates. So this offense has struggled mightily against righties in the last month. In isolated power, they're ranked 20th, so they're really not much better there. Their strikeout rate has gone a lot higher than what we're used to seeing from this team, 24.7%, which is 5th highest as a team. So this Yankees offense, it struggled against the right-handed starters of the Oakland A's in that series in Oakland. They were able to get to James Kaprielian, but other than that, Adam Oller put together one of the more surprising starts you'll see this year. Even Adrian Martinez wasn't half bad in his start against the Yanks. So I really don't want to lay this kind of price with the Yankees when they're facing a righty. And Mayers, who actually had a pretty good start last time out, he faced the Tampa Bay Rays. He went 5 innings, giving up no earned runs, 5 strikeouts in that one, and the Angels' bats didn't back him up for a win, but I think they'll keep this game close. I think they're going to cover on the run line, so I'm going to take the Angels plus 1.5 here at home. Next up, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Pretty good pitching matchup we see here. Aaron Nola and Zach Gallen on the mound. Now, I think both of these starting pitchers have had really good seasons in 2022. You look at Zach Gallen, a 2.66 ERA, Aaron Nola 3.08. But I do think I trust Aaron Nola just a little bit more, and I also trust the Phillies bullpen and lineup a lot more in this game. So I am going to take the Phillies here on the money line. Aaron Nola on the road this season, a 2.13 ERA. He's coming off a start against the Reds where he went a complete game shutout, 9 innings, 11 strikeouts, no walks, no earned runs, obviously, no home runs, and only 5 base hits. And I think he continues to pitch well this season, especially away from home where he's had much better numbers. And I think the Phillies grab a win. So I'm going to take the Philadelphia Phillies here at a pretty good price on the road. And in our final game of the night, we see the San Diego Padres taking on the San Francisco Giants. Blake Snell and Logan Webb are your starting pitchers. Now, both of these starters gave up 6 earned runs in their last start. That Logan Webb to the Detroit Tigers and Blake Snell to the Cleveland Guardians. I will say that I trust Blake Snell just a little bit more on the mound, and I also like the Padres lineup and bullpen better in this spot as well. When you look at San Diego in the last month, they are number 5 in team OPS and isolated power against right-handed pitching, while the San Francisco Giants have been pretty good against lefties, but their numbers are dropping a bit. Isolated power-wise, they're ranked 17th against lefties in the last month. The team OPS is in the top 10, but also the strikeout rate is in the top 11 right now, with a 24.5% strikeout rate against lefties. We know Blake Snell can certainly miss some bats and earn some strikeouts, so that should benefit him here. I'm going to take the San Diego Padres here on the money line to end the night. And that's it. Those are the games for Tuesday, August 30th. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.